Hello and good afternoon friends, welcome to the CEC EduSet live lecture. Dear friends, as you know that we are carrying a series on sustainable development goals. Under this series, in a previous lecture we discussed on terrestrial ecosystem. Continuing the lecture forward, today we would be talking on importance and distribution of terrestrial ecosystem, and for this discussion we have once again with us in our studios Dr. B W Pandey. Dr. B W Pandey is Associate Professor in Department of Geography, Delhi School of Economics. Dr. Pandey has 18 years of teaching experience. Mountain sustainability is his area of research. He has written various papers both at national and international levels. So dear friends, let's welcome our guest Dr. B W Pandey, and let's try to understand more and more why ecosystem is important and how it is distributed. Hello sir, welcome to the EduSet lecture.
Thank you Geetika, thank you very much. Hello friends, good afternoon. We are going to discuss about terrestrial ecosystem, its importance and the distribution. Since last lecture, I had discussed about the basic concept of the terrestrial ecosystem functioning and ecosystem services. Friends, our basic survival and sustainable development based on ecosystem services. We utilize the natural resources not only for our basic survival but also for the future sustainability. Therefore, it is very, very important to understand what are the different types of terrestrial ecosystem. You know, there are so many countries in the world. Many countries are highly developed, many countries are developing, and many countries are underdeveloped. And if you compare all the three levels of the countries, you will find that the countries which are developed have developed the nature and consumption of the ecosystem services. They have well developed technology so that they can take maximum outcome of the ecosystem services with minimum destruction, with minimum negative impact on nature, on the environment. On the other hand, countries which are underdeveloped, societies which are isolated, they don't have technical know-how, they don't have scientific research and development. Their nature and pattern of ecosystem services consumption having very less outcome and very massive impact, destructive impact, negative impact on nature. I can quote you some example I can give you which will give a very good idea to understand. Say two countries. Number one is Canada. You know, Canada having the largest area under temperate forest, that is called softwood timber. Largest area under temperate forest, and temperate forest are the ultimate source of paper and pulp, timber. And you know, Canada is the largest lumbering country in the world, having very high density of the temperate forest. Friends, I would like to mention here that maximum number of felling of trees is practiced in Canada. Nowhere in the world, even more than US and Russia. The commercial felling of trees, transported by the lakes and rivers. This is called lumbering. Canada is the lumbering country. You know, the lumberjacks. But I'd like to remind here that the massive felling of trees doesn't mean there is much negative impact on the environment, on the nature, because the amount of trees, number of trees, the areas affected by lumbering, the people of Canada, government of Canada, agencies of Canada, they go for afforestation, replanting, regenerate, and the quality and the quantity of the forest resource in Canada increasing every year, every decade. So ecosystem services in Canada used as utmost technology with maximum profit, minimum negative impact. On the other hand, third world countries, countries which are living in the megathermal forest area, monsoon forest area, including India, the equatorial countries, monsoon countries, Zaire, Brazil, Central America, Mexico to Costa Rica, Panama, all that. The East African countries, Southeast Asia, covering Philippines and Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, India. You know, these countries having dense rainforest, monsoon forest, moist deciduous forest. They cut the trees. Group of the people, community, the tribal population, they cut the tree, they call slash, and they get fire, called slash and burn. They have slash and burn method. They cut the trees, they get fire, and then they use those land for agriculture. Maybe couple of years, maybe 5 years, that's all. They do not go for replanting, they do not go for afforestation, they simply damage the forest, burn the forest, and by slash and burn cultivation, you know, this is very popularly known as shifting cultivation, jhum cultivation, shifting cultivation. By slash and burn, because the climate is high temperature, heavy rainfall, tropical humid climate, because of heavy rainfall along the slope, the soil wash out. Every year, the thickness of the soil become less, and finally it become barren. That land is now no more suitable for cultivation. Friends, I'd like to mention here that it's not only the degradation of land. See how we are ill affected ecosystem services, where not only the soil erosion, not only the land degradation, by shifting cultivation, by the slash and burn cultivation, there are massive impact on nature, on environment, by the loss of biological diversity. Friends, greatest disaster on the earth is the reduction of the biological diversity. If there is continuous degradation of biological diversity, means a time will come that we will be out from the diversity. Our basic existence, our essence of life will be no more. We need biodiversity, and by shifting cultivation, there is massive degradation of the biodiversity, loss, biodiversity loss. Friends, you can compare a country like Canada and these countries which have number of shifting cultivations, zoom cultivation. In Brazil called roca. In Sri Lanka it is called chena. So all these system of shifting cultivation have massive impact, and we are not efficient in the utilization of ecosystem services. Therefore, it's very, very important to know that these ecosystems function as a biomes. You know, we have desert biome called desert ecosystem, tundra ecosystem, tundra biomes, grasslands ecosystem, different kinds of grass called grassland ecosystem, shrubland, savanna, and savanna are different types, from grassland savanna to woodland savanna, forest ecosystem, and specifically where topographically, so we have mountain ecosystem, coastal ecosystem, and looking at the anthropological input, including anthropological input, then you find there are agro ecosystem, means agricultural ecosystem, urban ecosystem. Friends, the basic sustainability, the basic components of sustainable development depends on these ecosystem services, these biomes, biodiversity of the biomes. So one by one, I'd like to discuss about the different types of ecosystem services which are found in different parts of the world, and you find the basic importance. So number one, desert ecosystem. Say, desert ecosystem, a kind of ecosystem where scanty rainfall, less rainfall. Rainfall is less than 25 centimeter. It's 250 millimeter less. Where temperature varies from 0 degree to 50 degree, 55 degree, on an average goes to -5 to -30, going to plus 30 degrees Celsius. Desert area. Deserts are marginal areas. Marginality of resources, marginality of flora and fauna, less biodiversity. So, less ecosystem services, but naturally, desert ecosystem is fragile ecosystem, vulnerable ecosystem, because very less number of species. Floral and faunal community are less because of extreme weather condition. Means very less rainfall, very high temperature. So condition dominated by aridity. Throughout the year, there is arid condition. Therefore, flora and fauna there's long range of acclimatization and the system of adaptation. So they go for very long adaptation and acclimatization. Friends, deserts are many types on the basis of temperature. There are two types of deserts called hot desert and the cold desert. So deserts which are found in the tropical zone between 30 degree north to 30 degree south latitudes in both the hemisphere called tropical desert, and those deserts which are found beyond 30 degree, say 40 to 60 degree latitude, 30 to 60 degree latitude, 40 to 50 degree latitudes. So those deserts found in the mid latitudes and higher latitudes, they are cold desert. Sahara is a tropical desert, is a hot desert. Gobi, Patagonia are the cold desert. And maybe cold deserts are also found on the high altitude. High altitude like Leh, Ladakh region. Leh, Ladakh are the cold desert. Taklamakan desert. Taklamakan desert in Tibet, China. So, number of high altitude deserts, because of altitude, scanty rainfall, less temperature, there is lack of vegetation. And deserts are also classified on the basis of location, like continental desert, for example, Sahara, Kalahari, Thar. These are continental deserts which are developed over the continent. Great Sandy Desert, Gibson Desert, Great Victoria Desert, they are continental desert. And the deserts which have been developed on the sea coast because of the leeward effect, because of the effect of cold ocean current. There is a cumulative effect, that coast affected by leeward effect, where winds descend. Descending winds are always dry, and because of the cold ocean current, there is no evaporation and condensation, so it's remain dry. You'll find the west coast of the California, Sonoran Desert, Mojave Desert, there is a California cold current, and there is Sierra Nevada mountain, coastal mountains. Similarly, in Chile, Chuquicamata, Chile area, west coast of the Chile, the leeward effect of the Andes mountain and the Humboldt cold current. There is a hot tropical desert, coastal desert. Namib Desert along the coast of Namibia, they are coastal deserts. West coast of the Australia, there is a cold ocean current. Friends, in the desert are known for its long range adaptability and condition of acclimatization. Both flora and fauna have a long range of adaptation and acclimatization. So this is the distribution of the continental desert and the coastal deserts. These are tropical and temperate deserts. So those deserts lying in the low latitude are the tropical deserts, and at the higher latitude they are cold deserts. And in the deserts, whether tropical or temperate, there is less moisture in the air. Therefore, the flora and fauna both have a long range of adaptation. If you see the plant vegetation in desert, that plant has a very tiny leaves, shrub, hardly few feet, and deep rooted, penetrated roots, because they survive from the moisture of the soil, subsoil. So deep rooted, penetrated roots, thorny, cactus. And in India, there are varieties of, more than 50 varieties of cactus. Nagfani is a very famous cactus of India, which is found throughout the desert area. Even sometimes you find the cactus over the Himalayan region where there is scanty rainfall, find the cactus. And if you see the food chain and food web of desert ecosystem, there are small, the plants, some fruits consumed by the small mammals, insects, scorpions, roadrunners, rattlesnakes. These living organisms are consumed by the carnivorous and omnivorous. And see finally on the top, lizards and the eagle, cats, fox. These are on the top of the desert food web. Friends, desert ecosystem is a fragile ecosystem because of less number of flora and fauna. But I'd like to mention that desert ecosystem economically very, very important for us. And across the globe, deserts are being used for commercial activities, and more commercial activities are expected in the future. The desert are used for adventure tourism. Adventure tourism. Because deserts have a particular ethnicity, certain tribal group have different food culture, dress culture, language culture, folk dance, and that attract the nature tourism as well as cultural tourism. Friends, whether it is Atacama of the Chile, a Thar desert of India, Baluchistan of Pakistan, Sahara desert, Great Sandy, Gibson, Great Victoria, Simpson, Tanami deserts of Australia. All these deserts are used for adventure tourism. Friends, I would like to mention that you know which state of India has maximum number of visitors as a tourist? It's not Goa and Kerala, which you know the tourism destination. It's not Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, you know the mountain tourism. The maximum number of tourists arrive in Rajasthan. You know why? Because Rajasthan have a potential of tourism, having nature tourism, ethnic tourism, cultural tourism, and that provide a big arena of tourism development. On one side, other side, the adventure tourism in desert, that extreme temperature. In the mid of the day, in the afternoon, you find the temperature goes beyond 50 degrees Celsius. It's hot, burning skin. temperature. Same place, in the night, the temperature goes 5 degrees Celsius, and a big desert like Sahara, it goes to 0 degrees Celsius. You can experience from 0 degree to 55 degree temperature in a single day, in the day and night difference of the temperature. So, you find the adventure within 24 hours, it's the difference of the temperature. So, there is a adventure tourism. And second point I would like to mention that many parts of the globe having deserts. Friends, these are deserts of today, present condition. Maybe in the past, so several thousand years back, million years back, crore years back, these places were not desert. These places may be the part of the sea, maybe the forest land, maybe the Rocky Mountain, like that. So many earth material. Therefore, deserts are also very rich in mineral resources. I would like to mention that Atacama Desert, Chuquicamata, is the largest copper mine in the world. It's lying in the desert. In Australia, Great Victoria Desert, the second largest producer of gold and diamond in the world. Even including the Tanami Desert, Simpson Desert, the thick gold mines and diamond mine in Australia. Similarly, in India, Thar Desert, the big reserve of the oil. Vijaya, Bhagyam, Aishwarya, they are the Mangala, they are major oil field of Rajasthan, all lies in the Barmer district, in the desert districts. So deserts, say the Middle East deserts, Arabian desert, the Iranian desert, even Pakistan, Balochistan desert, they are very rich in oil. Libya, Libyan desert, very rich in oil resource. So from Libya to Egypt, Nifad, big oil reserve. So a number of deserts rich in the mineral resources, therefore these deserts are being affected by anthropogenic activities. Now the time has come, we need economic development, no doubt, but it is the responsibility of we have to responsible to save the very much ecosystem of the desert area. Friends, with this, we'll continue with this lecture in the next series, and we'll find the other ecosystem we'll discuss later on. Regarding this, if you have any question, you are most welcome. Thank you very much. Well, after the desert ecosystem, now we'll move to the other ecosystems like tundra ecosystem, forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, and shrub ecosystem. Friends, tundra ecosystem. So, tundra is the word derived from the Scandinavian word called tuntunia. Tuntunia means barren land, a barren land, a land which have least living livelihood conditions, barren land. Because of extreme climatic conditions, where temperature goes, average temperature goes minus 15 degrees Celsius. Sometimes in the big continent like Asia, in the Siberian region, it goes minus 30 degrees Celsius. You must have heard the place called Verkhoyansk, the coldest place in the world, found in Siberian tundra region. So because of extremely low temperature and the growing period, growing season for the plants are very less, it's a couple of months only. Therefore, tundra is an ecosystem where there are no tree. Tundra is a treeless. Tundra is timberless. Only tiny grasses, mosses, lichens, shrubs, sledges, or some kind of vegetation found in tundra. Friends, tundra typically are two types. One tundra, which is found over the high altitude, called alpine tundra. Alpine tundra and Arctic tundra. So those tundra which are found over the high altitude like northern part of Canada, northern part of the Asia, part of Greenland, these are along the Arctic circle, so called Arctic tundra. These are found around the Arctic pole, they are called Arctic tundra. On the other hand, tundra which is found over high altitude means mountains. High altitude mountains like Himalayas, Rocky Mountains, Andes Mountains, Alps Mountains, the young fold mountains. You know, young fold mountains are also known as alpine mountains because of having alpine conditions of flora and fauna. So it is called alpine mountains. So alpine tundra, the big area of alpine tundra found over Himalayan region, found over the Rocky Mountains, Andes Mountains, Alps Mountains. See the distribution of the Arctic tundra and alpine tundra. Arctic tundra, the big area lies over northern part of Canada and the northern part of Eurasia, southern part of Greenland, along the Arctic circle, along the North Pole. Therefore, it is known as Arctic tundra. Second map, where you can see alpine tundra alpine tundra found over the mountains like in the Central Asian mountains, Himalayan mountains, Karakoram, Ladakh, Jaskar, Kunlun range, Tian Shan range, Altai range, Khingan range. These mountains of the Central Asia and Andes mountain of the South America, Rocky Mountain of the North America, and also you can find the Alps mountain of Southern Europe and Zolan mountain of the Northern Europe. Zolan mountain in Norway, called Scandinavian mountains. Zolan mountain. Friends, this is distribution of tundra, alpine tundra and Arctic tundra. Friends, alpine tundra and Arctic tundra both having tiny grass means some grazing animals, flies, some birds. These form the components of the ecosystem of the food chain and the food web. Because of lack of trees, lack of biodiversity, so the faunal community is also very less. Tundra region having 2 to 3 months open land and the grass grow few centimeter to few feet. Then a couple of months later there is heavy snowfall and those flora covered with the snow, and then the animals which are dependent on those grass do migrate towards taiga. So tundra region also a unique ecosystem regarding seasonal migration of animals and birds. There is a long scale migration of animals and birds. So animals migrate from tundra to taiga and the birds migrate over longer distance. You must have heard that during winter season there are a number of bird species migrate to India. Throughout the North India, including Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, all this area having migratory birds in winter season, and during the spring they go back. Because of extreme cold condition in tundra, birds migrate. So the less number of flora, less number of fauna, and over a long adaptation. So there is a tree line, the tree line which divides the tundra and taiga, both the alpine tundra and the Arctic tundra. In tundra, you find very interesting the food chain and the food web. Some grass, tiny flowering plants, grasses, sedges, willows, lichens. They're few inches, maybe a feet, that's vary with the height. And these form basically primary producer. And there are musk oxen, there are caribou, lemmings, insects. These are primary consumers in tundra. And finally you can see the snow owl, the Arctic fox. These are the predators and all these predators and primary consumers do migrate from tundra to taiga in winter season and from taiga to tundra in summer season. Friends, this is a big impact of the economy, and there are big impact of the climate change on tundra biomes, on tundra ecosystem. I would like to mention you that tundra are worst affected by climate change. You may have heard big news that the Arctic glaciers are reducing very fast as compared to Antarctic. Do you know why? Both. One Arctic pole is the North Pole, Antarctic pole is South Pole. So if you compare the impact of the global climate change, the impact of the global warming is more over Arctic pole as compared to Antarctic pole. No doubt, both the poles are being affected by global warming. Both the poles are being affected by global climate change. But as compared to Arctic pole, you find the comparatively less impact on the Antarctic pole. Because Arctic pole is largely surrounded by Gala Arctic region. Friends, Gala Arctic region, I would like to mention that this condition, this geographical condition is not found over Antarctic pole, because big gap from South America, from Africa, from India, from Australia, there are Southern Ocean, part of the Pacific Ocean, part of the Indian Ocean, the part of the Atlantic Ocean that surround the Antarctica. So Antarctica is surrounded by ocean. So South Pole surrounded by more ocean influence, and North Pole, no doubt, we find the contrast. South Pole is continent, North Pole is ocean. There is an Arctic Ocean on the North Pole, Antarctica continent on the South Pole. Beyond that, there is a much continental effect on the Arctic Pole and more maritime effect on the Antarctic Pole. Because of the Gala Arctic impact, Gala Arctic influence over the North Pole. See the countries of the Gala Arctic region covering USA, Alaska of the US, Canada, Greenland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Iceland, then Russia. If you see the entire Arctic region surrounded by developed countries, and these countries which are influencing the Arctic climate because of mining, because of tourism, massive reserve of petroleum and gas, natural gas and petroleum in the Arctic region. There is much competition of the superpowers like US on one hand, Russia on the other hand, approaching towards Arctic region and having more and more mining. Romanov Shield of the Arctic is the most recent discovery having largest reserve of petroleum and natural gas in the world. And because of that reserve of petroleum and natural gas, these countries are approaching more and more to the Arctic with the heavy machines. So a lot of mechanization, snow cutting, more explorations. So there is much anthropogenic impact on the Arctic because of economic activities. Therefore, the glacier melting very fast over the Arctic pole. Friends, the number of tribes reducing in their number, and you can see, if you see the reports of the northern part of Canada, where the local people call Inuits. Inuits are the tribe of the northern part of Canada, the Arctic region, tundra region of Canada. They are Eskimos over Greenland and the Lapps on the Scandinavia. While right from Goldie, Sami, the Yakuts, the way Karyuks, they are found in the Russian Siberia tundra region, and the nature of occupation, the number, and all the economic conditions are changing because of influence of the outsiders. You can find sometimes big joke in the newspapers about the global climate change. You can see, I have seen some newspaper where they're focusing that the lions looking towards the Arctic region and expecting their future generation to lead the Arctic region. You know, lions are tropical, and Arctic region have polar bear. The way polar bears are reducing in the number, losing their habitat. Therefore, Arctic ecosystem is endangered ecosystem, fragile ecosystem, and it requires big attention. Similarly, coming over the mountains called alpine tundra. These are called cryosphere, Himalayan cryosphere, Alps, Rocky, Andes. These mountain tundra are also largely affected by ecotourism, religious tourism, and more and more number of vehicles coming to. See the Himalayas as a case study. So the tundra region of the mountains also reducing, and many studies have come that the tree line over the Himalaya shifting upward. And I would like to mention that during the research which I had concluded that somewhere about 1915 to 20, the good quality of apple were grown about 1500 meter on the Himalayas in Himachal Pradesh and Jammu Kashmir. Say about 1500 meter was most suitable with ideal altitude for best quality of production of apple. Friends, now in 2016, the good quality of apple are now grown at the height of 2500 meter. So you can see there is shift of the apple line. Similarly, there is shift of the tree line. So the alpine tundra is also worst affected by anthropogenic activities. We need to protect this. Friends, mountains are very, very important. Alpine tundra is very, very important, And the ultimate source of the fresh water for the entire world are mountains of the world. Himalayas are the highest water tower in the world. Because of its largest glacier area, Himalayas called third pole. And almost 50% of the world population survive because of the fresh water of the Himalayas. See, the Central Asia, South Asia, East Asia, coming to the West Asia, thousands and thousands of rivers draining out at a centrifugal pattern and sustaining almost 50% of the world population. Therefore, Himalayas are known as human equator of the world. Friends, mountain alpine tundra region or Arctic tundra region, tundra is very, very important for us, for ecosystem, for food chain, for food web, and for future sustainability. Now, I do now move to the grassland ecosystem. Grasslands are very, very unique, and on the basis of temperature, grasslands are tropical grassland and the temperate grassland. Friends, temperate grasslands, which are found somewhere about 50 latitudes, say in the North America. In the North America, you will find the prairie grassland, in US and Canada. In South America, in Argentina, and you find pampas in Argentina. Similarly, in Australia, called downs. In Eurasia, called steppe. In South Africa, it is called veld. Temperate grasslands are very fertile, Temperate grasslands are the largest producer of grain, wheat in the world. Therefore, temperate grasslands are known as granary. These are granary of the world. And sometimes in some regions, along with the grain production, wheat production, there are also animal husbandry, commercial animal husbandry, meat production, where beef and pork are produced. So temperate grasslands are granary. They are abode of the food for mankind, for human. Tropical grassland. Friends, tropical grasslands having extreme climatic conditions, less rainfall, high temperature, and it varies from tiny grass to the mixed grass and trees. And the grass area, we find the tropical grassland, and you can see the tropical grasslands are popularly known as savanna. And savanna having largest area in Africa. So south of Sahara and north of Kalahari, East Africa, having largest area in the world as a tropical grassland. Then it is found in the South America, mainly in northern countries and in Australia. So Brazil in South America and Australia. India, Indian Peninsula having savanna. So savanna is an ecosystem which is largely affected by the extreme dryness towards desert and wet towards equator. See, in northern part of savanna having desert in north hemisphere, and southern part of savanna is having desert in southern hemisphere. In between, or the equator, equatorial forest. So savanna is very much diversified, having a tree, shrub, grass, tall grass and tiny grass. That's why in Brazil, the savanna known with a different name like Mato Grosso, Campos, Cerrados, Gran Chaco, Caatinga. So where there's mixed forest with trees and grass is Mato Grosso, Campos and Cerrados. Absolute dry shrub, thorny shrub, a Caatinga. And tiny grass, soft grass, Gran Chaco. Friends, the literal meaning of Gran Chaco is land of hunting, where large number of herbivorous and carnivorous found. So big hunting is practiced by the animals in Gran Chaco. So the grassland, so natural ecosystem in the tropical grasslands, anthropogenic ecosystem in the temperate grassland. You find a lot of animals, birds, and I'd like to mention here in the tropical grassland, particularly in Africa, where the largest tribal population called Maasai, they practice herding, and for the grazing purpose they used to fire, so-called grazing succession. Sorry. For grazing succession, they used to have fire, and you can see in the figure when the fire for the new grass, Then finally we come to the forest. In the forest, there are different kinds of forest. Tropical forest, which are equatorial forest, monsoon forest. Then you find temperate forest, subtropical forest, taiga forest, and the mangrove forest. Sorry. The glimpse of the forest you can see, friends, forests are ultimate resource for human development of economy, and also for sustainable development of the nature of the environment. Friends, forests are the ultimate source of carbon sink, and the forest regulate the temperature of the earth and the atmosphere. Apart from different types of ecosystem services, basic livelihood, all the way from the taiga forest to the equatorial forest. Similarly, go the latitudinal distribution of the forest and altitudinal distribution of the forest. All the way, these forests are very, very important for the basic survival of mankind, economic development, and more important for sustainable development. Friends, in the sustainable development goal, forests are a unique place. Thank you very much. If you have any question, any queries regarding the ecosystem services, regarding the sustainable development goals, and regarding the terrestrial ecosystem and its importance and distribution, you are most welcome. Thank you very much.
With this note, thank you, sir. Thank you so very much. And dear friends, as Dr. B W Pandey himself said that your questions are welcome. So you can mail us your questions at info.cec@nic.in. All the students from the different communities, all from undergraduate level or from those who are preparing for the civil services examination, they watch us, they watch our lectures. So dear friends, you can send your questions at info.cec@nic.in. We would love to give you the answers of the questions you would be asking us through mail the next time when Dr. B W Pandey visits our studio in the lecture itself. So we will be meeting again very soon. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much.